Welcome to the BlackTrack, where I do commentary and review of movies with an all-black cast, or at least a black lead. Today's movie has a lot of firsts. Not only is it the first animated movie on the BlackTrack, but it's also the very first black animated feature-length film. That movie is Bebe's Kids, a 1992 film based off a hugely popular stand-up routine by comedian Robin Harris. In the routine, Harris complains about the fact that when he goes to take a new woman out on a fun date with her son, she brings along 3 more kids, who she's babysitting for her best friend Bebe, and they turn out to be bad as hell. The film, to my disappointment, ends up being a beat-for-beat, almost scene-for-scene reenactment of the comedy routine, changing very little and even going as far as to cast Robin Harris as himself in the movie. Well, not exactly. Let me give you a quick backstory. During the mid to late 80s, Robin Harris was one of the funniest underground comedians traveling the country. He got a start being an MC for comedy shows until he was given the opportunity to do his own sets. If I had to describe Robin Harris comedy, I think the best description is drunk uncle comedy. That's not an insult. Some of your favorite comedians can be described as uncle at the cookout comedy, including comedians like Ricky Smiley, D.L. Hughley, and Bernie Mac. And guess what? Every last one of them have admitted to being inspired in some way by Robin Harris. After doing the comedy circuit for several years, Harris was well on his way to stardom after getting small roles in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, Do the Right Thing, and Harlem Nights. But he's perhaps most known for his biggest role ever in the original House Party, where he starred alongside Kid and Play as Pops, the wisecracking father of Kid. Check out my House Party BlackTrack for more info on that. Unfortunately, Robin Harris passed away from a heart attack only 9 days after the release of House Party, so he never got the chance to even enjoy his newfound fame or reach the pinnacle of his comedy career. In my personal opinion, I consider Robin Harris to be the notorious B.I.G. of the comedy world, somebody who had a tragically short career but left us with classic material. There's all kinds of what-ifs when it comes to Robin Harris, but it's almost universally agreed that he was going to have a huge career. This reality is no more evident than when you learn that Reginald Hudlin, who directed and wrote House Party, was in the early stages of producing a live-action TV show based on Robin Harris's hugely popular Bebe Kids routine. The TV show was set to even star Robin Harris, but with his untimely death, Hudlin was forced to shelve the project temporarily. Not wanting to kill it completely, Hudlin shopped it around Hollywood until it finally landed with Paramount Pictures. At the time, Paramount was interested in hyping up their animated division, so the decision was made to give the movie to their animation studio, Hyperion, and turn the live-action Bebe's Kids into an animated full-length movie. The task of bringing it to life fell to established animator and writer Bruce W. Smith, who had already animated on films like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Rover Dangerfield. Bebe's Kids was going to be his first time in the director's chair, so there's another first. If the name Bruce W. Smith doesn't sound familiar, he's the man responsible for the Proud Family series and the critically acclaimed Hair Love short. So with all that in place, that just left one final problem. How can we do a Bebe's Kids movie without the man who invented Bebe's Kids himself? Well, to fix that, Hudlin sent a representative to a comedy club to approach a young up-and-coming comedian who was doing an impression of Robin Harris as a tribute to his late friend. This young comedian was a then unknown Faison Love, who openly admits he wasn't the best comedian but had a hell of a Robin Harris impersonation. This made him perfect for the role, and with that, Faison Love got his first voice acting job, and technically first movie, and the Bebe's Kids movie was off and running. So to bring it back around, even though the character in the film is named Robin Harris and he has Robin Harris's voice, it's of course not actually him. With all that it took to bring this movie to reality, including the creator passing away and changing from live action to animation, did Bebe's Kids end up a success against all odds, or did it struggle under the weight of all of its setbacks? Let's BlackTrack and find out. Right from the start, I just loved the art direction of Bebe's Kids. Bruce W. Smith said that he was inspired by a Harlem Renaissance book that he had received prior to animating the film. He wanted it to look unique, so he gave the movie kind of an asymmetrical look, with washed out colors in the background. The best way to describe it is that it just looks urban. Even if there were no characters in the scene, you would know right away that it was set in a predominantly black neighborhood, And that was the goal. The added characters in the bar scene just further drives the point home. There's an old drunk, an old prostitute, a younger drunk, and a younger prostitute. Oh, you think I'm just being mean by calling them hookers? Well, what do you think she's offering Robin Harris here? Car insurance? If this scene had any dialogue, it probably would have sounded something like this. You want some company, Big Daddy? Oh, by the way, Bebe's Kids is rated PG-13. Hey, I only said it was animated. I never said it was a kids movie. I feel like I vaguely remember it being sort of marketed to kids on TV though, but it was obvious they wanted to maintain as much as the adult humor in Robin Harris's stand-ups, as well as the canceled live-action version. Bottom line, I wouldn't let my kids watch it, but the times were different back then, and in 1992, parents took their kids to see this like it was the next Black Panther. Bebe's Kids is another one of those movies that starts you at the end and then fills in the gaps. Yeah, not even cartoons are immune from this gimmick. Robin is getting pissy drunk and starts recounting the events to a blind bartender. I sure would like to learn more about how that works. That joke setup is almost better than what we're about to get with the rest of the movie. Everybody in this place is pretty funny, and the movie flashes back to this place whenever it needs a one-liner. One of the drunks is voiced by the late comedian Ronaldo Ray, and the barfly lady is voiced by Bebe, you got to go to work on Myra's toes, Drake, who also voices Mary Darnell on The Proud Family. Robin's story starts at a funeral for a guy that not a single person liked, except for his wife and his secretary. I guess everybody just came for the food, even the roaches. It feels like a lot of this movie was pieced together by scenes left on the cutting room floor of the defunct TV show, like these domino players, who Robin chops it up with briefly at the funeral. Two of them are voiced by comedy greats John Witherspoon and George Wallace, and the other two are voiced by Rodney Winfield and the king of the black movie cameo, Chino Fats Williams, who had already worked with Robin Harris and the Hudlin brothers in House Party. All of these colorful characters makes it seem as if Bebe's Kids has a deeper lore and backstory that we kind of stumbled into the middle of, and I'm intrigued by it. That's why it sucks so much that from here on out, the movie just visually recreates the Bebe's Kids stand-up routine and doesn't try to build upon the lore that I'm sure was already established from the show and change the story up. Robin meets a girl named Jamaica at the funeral, and don't you just love how absolutely aesthetically African her name is? I'm glad they didn't try to generic it up to appease a wider audience. Pretty much all the names are unapologetically black in this movie, and there's not a damn thing wrong with that. Jamaica looks a hell of a lot like Elise Neal. Wait, is she supposed to be Elise Neal? Jamaica is actually voiced by Vanessa Bell Calloway, and if you need a reminder of who that is, woof, woof, woof. Robin Harris don't waste no time. He covers about a month's worth of courtship in one night. Not bad for an alcoholic stranger. He gets a ride from Jamaica, damn near learns her life story, and meets her son Leon. Hell, I would have went in for a kiss on the first night too. Might as well play the odds. I don't blame Leon for not warming up to Robin immediately. He got more sense than his mama. As a son to a single mother myself, it was always awkward being introduced to a new boyfriend because they were almost never just normal. It was always something weird about them, and Robin is no different.
Way down in the jungle deep, the badass lion stepped on the signifying monkey feet. Dolomite, my man.
Of course, anybody would be willing to put up with your weirdness if you lead with your wallet, and I like how Bebe's Kids keeps it ambiguous just how much money Robin Harris actually has. He's simultaneously broke and paid depending on the situation. Basically, he's broke when it's funny, paid when it's convenient. The next morning, he meets up with Jamaica expecting to only see Leon, but she has 3 more kids with her, her friend Bebe's kids. And you know, I was ready to go in on the absolute audacity of Jamaica to expect the man she met last night to pay to take somebody else's kids out. But this man Robin did try to mash them potatoes on the first night, so she's probably just trying to test to see how much he'll put up with to get some of that Jamaica juice. The first of Bebe's Kids is a baby named Pee-wee, voiced by rapper Tone Loc. A joke that writes itself when you hear what Tone Loc sounds like.
Oh my goodness, those are double knit pants, are they? Trying to bring it back, huh?
He sounds like he smokes Newports, and I would not be shocked. Next is the older son named Khalil, voiced by Marquez Houston. Yep, that Marquez Houston. And he's talked about how this was his first everything. First movie, first starring role, first voice work, and the first single of his new group Immature was featured on the soundtrack. He credits this movie with kickstarting his entire career. And then there's the oldest daughter, LaShawn, who's voiced by first-time actress Jonelle Green. And since I'd never heard of Jonelle Green, I said, let me go check out her work. And well, I've heard of Jonelle Green, I just know her by a different name. And don't think I'm judging, because Jonelle Green has a bigger filmography than half the people in this movie, so she must have done something right. Actually, quite a few things right. But I digress. A film is a film. Now in the stand-up, Robin Harris took the kids to Disneyland, but I guess the Mouse House said, "I wish you would," to using that idea in the movie, so instead, they created a fake place called Fun World. It would be some years before Disney would actually work with Bruce W. Smith, tasking him with creating Dr. Facilier, the villain in The Princess and the Frog. Fun World basically is the same thing as Disney, expensive entry fee and all. See, this is where me and Mr. Harris diverge, because if you've ever been to Disney, ain't no way I'm spending that much money, especially for kids that ain't mine. But I applaud Mr. Harris for stepping up to the plate for underprivileged kids. A lot is made about the fact that Bebe only left $20 to help with the admission fee, but looking at the prices, I mean, it kinda helped. Somebody got in for only $15. The admission sign always cracks me up, because why even separate the kids from the adults if it ain't cheaper? Then, Fun World is definitely on to people trying to lie about their kids' age to get in cheaper or free, and decided to punish you for your sins with inflated pricing. Then, as if they're doing you a favor, seniors get in for a whopping 50-cent discount. Bebe's Kids has a lot of quick and fast humor like this that you'll miss if you aren't paying attention, and it proves that they were capable of making their own jokes and not relying on Robin's stand-up. But in the very next scene, they fall right back on one of Robin Harris's tried and true routines. The fact that he wore his wedding ring on the wrong finger because he married the wrong woman. Robin's ex-wife shows up to the park with her best friend, and these two always gave me Baps vibes, even though this predates Baps by at least 5 years. They only exist in this movie to terrorize Robin and sabotage his date. They get to talking about stuff like alimony and a bunch of things I did not understand in 1992. Plus, isn't this a kids park? Why are they even here? Oh yeah, that's right, I answered my own question earlier, because they have to fit in every single one of Robin Harris's jokes. Now I can easily be critical of the fact that the movie constantly reuses material, but I'm also aware of the fact that the movie was also marketed to people who've never seen the Robin Harris routine. Robin's ex-wife Dorothea is voiced by Myra J., another comedian and the voice of Mamie Darnell on The Proud Family, and her friend Vivian is voiced by the late Nell Carter. Now Bebe's Kids isn't a musical, but a decision was made to have several musical numbers added, and it does not fit. I would be willing to overlook the songs if they were actually good, but they all sound hastily thrown together.
Back your rusty butt back in the tank. Roll up the windows with no air conditioning, blacking out from the heat, and y'all gonna be pushing.
It didn't need it, but I could see somebody saying, well, most Disney animated movies have music, so why not this? Bebe's Kids themselves are far more fleshed out in the movie than time allowed them to be in the stand-up. Yeah, they're bad and all, and get into a whole bunch of shenanigans at the park, but there's more to them than that, and I'm glad the movie makes a point to show that they aren't the only ones being bad at the park. I'm just glad that it doesn't make it seem like their race makes them inherently bad. The movie makes a point to include a bunch of different races, all terrorizing the park equally. Now you might be asking yourself, where are these kids' parents? But you wouldn't believe how many summer camp trips I went on where the chaperones were just like, hey, meet us back at the front and say, I don't know, 3 hours? So in that aspect, Bebe's Kids is accurate. Anyway, back to the kids. Like I said, they all have their own personalities. LaShawn has a strong personality, and if I'm not mistaken, she's the oldest, which means she probably had to help her mom raise the other two at some point. She don't fuck around, and all the boys she knows are afraid of her, probably because she's not afraid to fight men. Those girls were always terrifying growing up. She also secretly likes Leon, so there's a softer side, and I like that she shows affection the only way that she knows how.
Don't try to change the subject.
Khalil is super militant, and a mix between Ice Cube, Chuck D, Dr. Dre, maybe a little Eazy-E, pretty much any political rapper from the time. He's the instigator and the ringleader of the majority of the bad behavior that takes place. Pee-wee is the most underwritten kid. It's not like really defined what his character is. He's just a baby that doesn't get his diaper changed, ever, and he has a deep voice, so he's a one-note character. He kind of makes me think of another baby that's been in the news recently. The best parts are their interactions with Leon. Leon represents the so-called sheltered black kid. and Bebe's kids constantly try to bully him and peer pressure him to be more like them. It's the equivalent of those kids who got made fun of back in the day for acting or talking a certain way, even though they were just being their authentic selves. This is one of the few times where Bebe's kids attempts to back away from the subject material and deliver a message.
How do I get respect?
Easy. Don't worry about what they think about you. Just do what you do best, and then you'll win respect on your own terms.
Wise words buried underneath a lot of nonsense. There's two different subplots going on while they're at the park, and I really don't know which one is more entertaining. One is with Dorothea trying to sabotage Robin and Jamaica's relationship. I lean more towards this one because it at least has a hilarious conclusion. Dorothea and her friend have a fake conversation in the bathroom in front of Jamaica, trying to make it seem like Robin was over there just last night. Would that really be a violation? I mean, you did just meet him last night yourself. Anyway, she storms out and confronts Robin over it, and later on, when he discovers who's been causing all the problems, he and Dorothea go at it the best way you could go at it in the early 90s, a Yo Mama joke competition.
Hair look like the back of a toaster.
Your mama.
My mama?
Yeah, your whole family.
Ain't that a look at you. Mama so old, she was there first day of slavery.
Your mama so old, she older than your grandmama.
Your mama so fat, she on both sides of the family.
That's okay, your mama so dumb, she thought a quarterback was a refund.
Oh, ain't that? Look, your mama so dumb, they told her it was chilly outside, she wouldn't got a bowl. You ready to go, baby?
She got cooked. The other plot is some old Five Nights at Freddy's type shit, since the kids get captured by some animatronics for damaging one of their own earlier. Boy, you could tell Terminator 2 had came out recently. This part isn't nearly as entertaining, probably because it's so weird. Khalil is about to be put to death. That's right, you heard me. Death. Until robot Abraham Lincoln says that can't happen because he thought this was America. So Khalil goes on trial with Lincoln representing him and Nixon prosecuting. What a weird time and place to get political. And it all ends with yet another song called Freedom. My theory is that the adult scenes being semi-serious and the kid scenes being silly was done on purpose to separate the adult issues away from the childhood wonder and imagination. Most of the stuff that happens with the kids are way over the top, but makes sense if you think of it from a child's point of view. I think it's why they spend so much of the movie apart. I might be reaching, but when you watch it back, it makes sense. Things get so bad at the park that eventually Robin Harris has had it and tries to leave them right there. But you don't even have to be troublemakers to know that you better have your ass on the bus on time, because if you get left and your mama gotta come get you, it's gonna be 10 times worse. So the Bebe's kids beat him to the car, naturally.
It ain't time to go. You trying to leave us?
This is where Bebe's kids gets real serious on you. Robin and Jamaica take the kids home, and the image of the neighborhood they live in alone is enough to bring the somewhat happy mood they had going to a screeching halt. It doesn't look like it's the projects, but it's definitely a sketchy neighborhood, especially when you got the Hudlin brothers running around, making throwback house party cameos.
I better walk the man.
Gee, you think, Jamaica? The movie picks this point to essentially tell you why the kids are the way they are. Their living situation sucks, and their mom is an absentee. But in my opinion, I think they should have found a way to work this into the story earlier. I can't complain too much. This at least gives a socio-economic reason to the kids' behavior, where the stand-up didn't have the opportunity to. To further drive it home, Jamaica and Robin have a heated discussion about the role of a father in the kids' lives. And I like it, but damn if it ain't too late for all this. It's the end of the story, and we're back where we were in the beginning with Robin in the bar being depressed about the situation. He leaves after having a revelation about where he might end up, and when he opens the door, Jamaica is outside waiting on him. Hey, how'd she know he was here? Is his alcoholism that notorious? They make up and share what might be the most awkward makeout session I think has ever been drawn for an animated movie. She went back and got them kids too, and having not learned his lesson, Robin takes all of them to Las Vegas, where they get right back to the business of burning it to the ground. Hold up though, am I the only one who's always wanted to see a sequel that deals with Bebe? Like, what was she doing all those times she left her kids home alone? I always figured the plot twist would be that she had like 5 jobs and is actually the hero of the story. Yeah, that's the story we need. Let's get to the grade. Bebe's Kids is a weird time capsule of a movie. On one hand, it deserves so much credit for not only being the first black animated feature, but also kickstarting so many careers and trends. On the other hand, the movie lacks creativity and feels a bit rushed. I know that sounds weird to say because animation takes a hell of a long time, but I find myself disappointed with the fact that the creators lean so heavily on Robin Harris's material. There's paying tribute, but then there's outright imitation, and Bebe's Kids is a complete imitation of all of Robin Harris's best work. The problem with that is that if you watch or have watched any of Robin's material, then you'll come away from the movie unimpressed. If you haven't ever heard of Robin Harris, you still will probably dislike the movie, but at least you'll get some laughs out of it. It waits until the very last moment to start delivering a message, and this is one of those times when a heavy-handed message would have been better served from the start. It's not like you're alienating the kids by doing that. You already alienated the kids when you made the movie PG-13, so why not find a way to hook the young adult audience? That leads into another problem, the marketing. I think having this movie changed to an animated film at the 11th hour really hurt it, because it feels like there just wasn't enough time to change everything from the more mature show it was supposed to be. So in an attempt to try to make it appeal to everybody, a bunch of half-hearted changes were made to try to reach all ages. As a result, the film was just barely profitable, and I can't help but wonder if they had just stuck with one demographic, it might have been better received. Of course, this was before animated movies and shows were able to be R-rated, so Bebe's Kids was handicapped by the time period. Now, full disclosure, I was a huge fan of Bebe's Kids growing up, and I watched it a bunch of times as a kid. However, I can't let nostalgia blind me to its glaringly obvious faults, no matter how much I love Robin Harris's comedy. Probably will be an unpopular opinion, but my grade for Bebe's Kids is a D+. The comedy, the art style, and its status as a trendsetter just barely keeps it from being worse than what it is.
And that's it for this episode of the BlackTrack. As usual, let me know what you thought about the movie Bebe's Kids in the comments below. Did you feel like it had more redeeming qualities than I did? Let me know. And if you like this video, don't forget to drop a like and a subscribe and tell your friends about my channel. And until next time, I'll holla at you.